Well, this is the deep end. How deep is the water in the deep end? It probably gets deeper than the FFPC main event. For me, that is new depth. And for Adam, he's been there. For our guest tonight, he maybe has been there many, many times. Deep is relative. Tonight, we're going to talk strategy for the main event and the Football Guys Championships and more here on the deep end. What I meant was that my purchase of a main event team today was my first. Adam has played in this tournament for years, and the guilds for as long or longer. That's what I was going for, Adam.
I got it. I read it loud and clear. So what is it? What does it feel like? I forgot what that feels like. The first main event team.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you feeling right now? Do you have any stories? What was the experience like? Did you sit down with like a nice glass of wine, maybe a bottle of wine? Did you talk to the computer? Like, what was it like?
Well, that would have been dangerous because then I could have ended up buying a few. That package deal at the discount was not that far away. A few clicks away. But you and I are going out there. It'll be my first time out there for fantasy. And so this has been sort of planned. But to push the button was, you got to make sure it's the right date and time and that you're really up for it. I mean, I'm going. So I'm, as they say, pot committed.
Yes.
But then I got home and I'm like, oh, I thought maybe we had discussed this here. I think maybe we have, but maybe not in such specific terms. But I mentioned at home that I purchased a main event team, and my wife said, what does that mean? So it's just, well, we're going to be out in Vegas. So, that's what we're going for, to draft a main event team. And she said, how much is that? I said, $2,100. And she said, that's one team. And it was a whole new, the chill, the icicles started to form on the pantry doors. The wind sort of blew through the room, and that was like 5 minutes ago. So we will have to continue that conversation after the show. But now I've told you, so it's official.
You survived. Wait, so hold on a minute. Let me backtrack. So your wife knew you were going to Vegas, but didn't know why.
Well, she knows or knew the general basics of it.
Sure.
I'll be doing my WGR show from there.
Yeah.
I'll be working with you from there.
Yeah.
And, there'll be a couple of drafts plus the bare knuckle challenge. Oh, so, yeah. I guess the number was what caused the temperature shift.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, you're a big card collector too, right? I mean, she's got to be used to these, lavish purchases. Come on.
So right. Just big dollars. See my gold chains and everything. Like that's the life that she has grown accustomed to. Yeah, not really. I mean, I have a good collection and used to have a better one, but no. Usually, the big money you tread carefully. I think this is pretty typical. You tread carefully when it comes to the big dollar events, and it sounds like, I think to a lot of people, for right or wrong, it sounds like you're putting that money on red or black and the spin of a wheel. And this is, the best competition.
Yes.
As we have come to know personally through this show, it's like the very best competition is there for that. So I think, it's time for me to test what I've learned, and I just want to see what happens. I mean, any one team you draft, there's a lot of randomness in it, but I look forward to the effort.
Do you have any early thoughts on draft position, what you'd like to see pop up there?
Good question. I hadn't given that any thought yet, but I just did a best ball Superflex FFPC draft from the 101.
Okay.
And I loved it.
Okay.
I love how it went. So 2 quarterbacks, and it's tight end premium, of course. So that draft was McCaffrey, which is the law at 101. Although, Superflex doesn't have to be, but I did that anyway. And then it was, I ended up with 2 quarterback. Oh, 3rd round reversal.
Oh, maybe? Okay.
Does that sound right? That does not sound right.
Not FFPC.
I'm going to go look.
Okay. Okay. Yep. No, I
I'm
like
doing,
it. No,
all right, Adam. 101 McCaffrey,
yep.
212 Tyreek Hill.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's super. Yeah. Super flex.
Right. Wide receiver 1 in the draft, pick 24.
Yeah.
301 Burrow.
Yes.
And then 4-5, I went 2 tight ends, 6-7, 2 quarterbacks, and the rest of it running back and receiver until almost the end.
Yes.
And I really like how that went. Hawkinson and Andrews at 4-5.
Yep.
And then Darnold and Fitzpatrick at 6-7.
Yep.
And the rest, your Curtis Samuels and James Robinsons and Batemans and Hendersons and Madisons.
Yeah, that's right. Those are all the guys. That's all. No, it's good with so we talked about the FF, the Football Guys Championship and the trap of picking from the one hole and taking McCaffrey. The cool thing about the main event though is there aren't 10,000 teams in the main event. So I think it's a little easier to go with a McCaffrey and then whatever kind of build you want to make, whether it's 4 straight receivers or 3 running backs or whatever, because I don't think it's that big of a, again, there aren't 10,000 teams where you're going to have to worry about 100 people making the same roster you are. So I think if you get the 101, I think it's okay to build it any way that you want to. So, I think that's exciting. I think we find out what it is. I think at the end of July, I think they let it out. So you'll know with about a month to go. And
good.
And then we can really do some prep pods.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe that's not the best position, but it seems like it should be the best position with third round reversal, like in the fishbowl. That is a different lift for 101, and I know there are people who still think it's the best spot. Really, what I've come to learn through this is it's about tiers, of course, but where do you get into trouble with what's left at a position most of the time? And in a 2 quarterback league, that's quarterback or tight end premium. It depends on where you, I think, break up your tight end groups. You just don't want to get stuck. And if you're drafting on the end, you're sort of aware of that. You're cognizant of the fact that possibility exists if there's a run at your position. So it seemed like it was more important to build around what positions at what stages of the draft, and then fit in who's available to you as you do that. Really, that became defined with Hawkinson and Andrews at 4 or 5. I thought once I did that, I was going to be done at tight end for almost the rest of the thing. And I turned out to like how that felt. Yeah.
Yep. And that's the most important thing. Like it's your team. Like people say, oh, the ADP and then this, if you take a guy and it doesn't feel right, then he belongs in a different tier, because you don't want to be drafting guys that you don't think are right or in the right spot or whatever. So that's where this practice comes in here at this time of year. You're practicing, you're taking guys, and you know what, that felt early, that felt late, whatever. You really want to be happy with your squad, especially when you're dropping $2,000 on it.
So there's the $35 level, then there's the main event $2,000 level. In between, you have that Football Guys Championship. Last week, we talked about a draft we did together for the Football Guys Championship at FFPC. And our guest tonight, who is joining us now, was in that draft. Much ballyhooed the Guilds. Although my first interaction with the Guilds was, I think he didn't like that draft and was sort of critical of himself there on Twitter after that draft. But we know he's been very successful in these tournaments. The Guilds, I'm Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. I think welcome to the deep end.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
So that we're just talking about the Memorial Day draft. You were at 12, and if I remember right, you were sort of upset with yourself. What about the 12 spot in these things? Is that generally a place you want to be, or not really?
This year, no, I'm not really a fan of the 12 hole, only because you're going to start off running back. You're going to start off behind the pack, right? You want the top 1 and 2, obviously, and then even the early, get the Kamaras, the Barkleys. I feel like when you're at 12, you're going to be behind the pack, whether you're taking 2 running backs there, wide receiver running back, you're just going to be fall behind the pack. So I don't like it as much this year as in years past. But, if I have my preference is obviously 1, 2, and then somewhere in the middle, I would say.
So what you want to do then, I think the instinct is find areas where you can sort of zag, right? If everybody else is going to be taking running backs, then you want the 2 tight ends or 2 wide receivers or some different strategy, and that can leave you a little bit too short sometimes.
Yeah, and plus the running backs, I'm not really loving at the 3-4 turn. So if you go wide receiver there, you're left chasing that running back. Now, a guy like Miles Sanders falls to the 3-4 turn, that changes my story. I'm very high on him this year, but from the 12, you're seeing a lot of the Diggs, Hill, grab running back or tight end. It's very, there's not much you could do from the 12 in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so tell me about the running back situations or the 3-4. You don't like that, but Miles Sanders, talk to me more about him because I was on him, probably a month or so ago, but I just haven't gotten a good vibe. Why do you love him? Because I'm certainly you maybe don't love him, but why do you like him in the 3rd round?
Yeah, I love the whole Philly offense. I feel like they're super undervalued, whether it's Miles, Hurts, I can talk about later, Devonta Smith, Goddard. I feel like every Philly piece, Gainwell as well. I mean, every single piece is going way cheaper than I feel like they should. I feel like last year, the offensive line was in shambles in Philly. Sanders, we've seen what he could do in space. He's electric. There's a lot of recency bias. So people see, the poor finish. They drafted Gainwell and everything. So they're kind of steering clear of Sanders. He's going mid-4th, and I'm grabbing him every draft I can, mid-4th. I've even seen late 4th in some of these. I'm like, that's a free swear, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. If he's going mid-4th, I haven't seen him get that far. Well, sometimes I'm taking him mid-3rd. That's probably why. But yeah, I think he's one of those prototypical post-hype sleepers, right? Like a bunch of people loved him last year. I wasn't on him in the middle of the 1st, but man, in the middle of the 3rd, I just think that whole Philly offense, the whole Philly team was just a disaster last year, right? Yeah. So you get a fresh start, new quarterback, new head coach,
Peters
new everything.
Was lost last year. I like Sirianni. He's going to put in a whole new offense. I'm very bullish on the entire Philly offense.
I like that.
So yeah.
Especially when you're talking value, right? Nobody in that offense is getting hyped really, except for Hurts. But I think there's maybe what explains that would be there's an underlying, I don't want to say bias against him. It doesn't have to be wrong, but like as a quarterback, there's still a resistance, I think, about a guy like that, not a marquee pick, somebody who was effective in college, but we're still watching the league evolve and seeing more guys like that be successful. It leads me to want to sort of give the benefit of the doubt to those players, especially in fantasy. Justin Herbert taught a lesson, even though he was a top 10 pick.
Right. Yeah.
But Hurts is somebody who I think overall wasn't supposed to succeed. And man, he has a great opportunity that's ahead of schedule. I like the logic behind the Philadelphia argument.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite targets. I mean, he's going around 8, 9 in these FPGs. He's got the rushing floor. He reminds me a lot, not the throwing, but just the pocket awareness of Russell Wilson. He knows when to escape. He gets those yards he needs. He'll run out of bounds, avoid big hits. I love everything about the kid. I think he's a superstar, and I feel like he's being way too undervalued. So if I see him around 8, I've drafted him around 7 the other day, and people are like, "What is he doing?" I don't care, but he's going 8, 9 in these FPGs. I'm grabbing him a lot. Gainwell late, Devonta Smith too. That's another guy. Why is he going 4 rounds after Chase? I can make an argument. He's gonna in a vacuum. I might prefer Devonta Smith over Chase. Who has a better route to 130 targets, Chase or Devonta Smith?
Well,
the size is scaring people, right? He's 166 pounds. People get scared off by that. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, I want to unpack all that. So, Hurts reminds me a lot of fantasy wise, ADP wise, league winning upside like Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson the year before that, like Patrick Mahomes the year before that. It's all those mobile quarterbacks you get in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round that pop for top 3 finishes that win a ton of money. Look at Abib last year, won the football guys with Josh Allen. Look, the main event winner won the football guys with Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson won us all a ton of money the year before that. Mahomes. So all those quarterbacks that blow up in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th round, those are the guys to draft. To go back to Devonta Smith, I'm not going to argue that he doesn't have a better chance at 130 targets, but I will say is, to me, I think 130 targets, maybe 110 targets from Burrow might be better than 130 targets from Hurts. I don't have any
Is that worth 4 rounds though? Difference in ADP? Not
sure.
to me.
No, I get it. I totally.
Smith in round 7 and 8 every day over Chase in round 4.
Yeah, I'm not taking Chase in round
so.
4 either. Yeah.
But to your point with the mobile quarterbacks, I made it a point last year to draft the Dax, Kylers, Russ. Even this year, I will not draft a quarterback if he doesn't run. Every one of my drafts, they're all Kyler, Dak, Mahomes. I'm taking every rushing quarterback. I'm not going to take a quarterback that doesn't run. And that's why Hurts appeals to me too, because he's kind of on that island after that first tier, even the second tier guys are off. Everyone's like, all right, who's going to take Hurts? I'll take him. Thank you.
Does Trevor Lawrence make that cut for you?
He does. I don't have any shares yet, but yeah, he's definitely someone I could see, with that rushing floor. Defenses doesn't look good. They'll be in a lot of shootouts. So yeah, I'm just a little higher on Hurts, I think, at this point. But yeah, I mean, it would not surprise me at all if we saw him exceed, especially year one.
There's enough there. Did Jalen Reagor make your list of Eagles?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm doing, I'm doing a lot of pairing with Reagor, Gainwell. I'm trying to get some secondary pieces, that kind of going under the radar, and pairing with the Jalen Hurts. Even Sanders, I'm pairing Sanders and Gainwell. I think Gainwell is going to be a standalone piece. He's going to offer flex value, I think, during the year as well. People are sleeping way too much on that kid because I think because of his draft capital, they're like, was he a 5th, 6th round pick? So like, I don't think he's going to be a big part of the offense. But yeah, I see him being, a good pass catching option. Someone's going to get you 8 to 10 points weekly, and maybe if Sanders goes down, obviously the ceiling is through the roof.
That draft capital point is an interesting point to me, especially when I think about Michael Carter with the Jets, because it just feels like there should be, and there's certainly a movement in this direction toward waiting on running back. Right? We've heard the whole campaign about avoiding running backs in the first round for NFL teams. They start to do it, and you saw this year maybe the manifestation of that. You saw only Trey Sermon, and then that day 2 of the draft was almost devoid of running backs. So conventionally you go, well, the guys on day 3, good luck. I mean, you're going to have to get lucky, but maybe teams have shifted. Maybe the Jets and the Eagles are a couple of teams that are like, well, it doesn't matter when we drafted these guys. We believe in them just the same and are confident in giving Carter and Gainwell and the like a real look.
Absolutely. You saw it even the year prior with Jonathan Taylor and Swift. I mean, these guys, they're first-round caliber running backs, but teams aren't willing to invest that capital, that high in the draft. So, what's a 4th or 5th round running back today was probably a 2nd, 3rd round pick, 4 or 5 years ago. So it's just changing of the game, really. But to me, that's why it helps the fantasy guys, that know and can watch some of the film and study these guys, can spot that talent and then take it at a discount.
So one question I had for you guys here, we're the deep end, and we're talking about some of the deep dive sort of strategies and keys to winning in these big money leagues when you're playing for high stakes. I'm curious about, so as a relatively new at it, how much information do I really need to have about what's going on in other drafts in the same tournament? So I can figure out how I want to build my team, tiers, strategies, all kinds of things like that when it's me against 11. And I know the difference between sort of tournament strategy and say a regular 12-team league. But what I don't have figured out yet is, do I need Fantasy Mojo? Do I need what I can glean off guys like yourself? This is what is happening over in these other, here's the ADP, here's what's going on in these other drafts. Here are the stacks that are popular so that I can figure out whether to do that or avoid them, whether it's stacks or just any kind of pairings like that. That's what I want to figure out next is, how much research and time do I need to invest in what else is going on in my tournament?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think you touched on something there with the stacks. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. People are stack mad right now. They need to find that stack, some to an extent where you just don't want to go. I've seen people stacking 4 to 5 guys on one team, And if you're playing FFPC, you know the championship rounds, a 3-week sprint. You're not going to see a mega stack go bananas for 3 weeks straight. Those builds don't work well, and I see it time and time again. And I don't know if they think it's like a 1-game kind of DFS shootout tournament, but over a 3-week sprint, you can't have 4 or 5 player stacks on one team. It can help you get to that point, but you're not going to see one of those teams go crazy for 3 straight. They're going to have one dud. They might have 2 insane weeks. It only takes the one dud, unless you're a Beeb, and then you get the stack that actually works, and then everybody's happy. He wins it 3 years in a row.
That's right.
He'll
And
be,
plus,
he'll be the first guy to take it down with a 6-player stack.
well, not only that, but 2 years in a row, he's had a 0 in his lineup insane.
Yeah, the light is shining on that guy for sure. I mean, it's really it's insane. And he's such a humble guy. I listen to him.
He's a great guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
The fact that we're never going to see anything like that ever.
No.
Again. Nothing close.
No.
Even top 5 finishes is like impossible.
It's
Take
insane.
it down like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right to him.
I'm the same way. And plus I don't do enough. Well, I don't want to say I don't do enough, but some people do a lot more than me. I'd be interested to ask you, Gills, how many football guys you plan on doing this year, but I do normally around 20 football guys. And, and I get the whole thing. Like I'm sure you've heard Abib talk about the trap at the 101 of taking McCaffrey and 4 straight receivers at ADP or even 4 straight players at ADP there because, Fantasy Mojo has this thing called the Stack Finder. I don't know if you use that either, but it's just, I'm not going to get the 101 very, very much. So when I do it, I want to build the team the way I want to build it, regardless of how the other, I don't know how many drafts there are, a couple thousand drafts, how they've done it, So, but I think it is important to know that, like last year, for example, it was the Christian McCaffrey, Lamar Jackson, who was the other one there? Mark Andrews stack at the 101, and everybody had that stack.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little more versatile this year because there's so many, some running backs are falling. Sometimes it's CEH, sometimes it's Swift, sometimes it's 2 receivers. I don't think it'll be that common as far as the 101, but I've seen people not take. I think you were in a draft recently where you got McCaffrey at the 102. Mm-hmm. If I'm not.
Yeah, that was the last
mistaken.
2 days ago. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's crazy to not take McCaffrey at the 101 just because you're trying to get diverse or whatever. But I think it's important, Mike, to kind of be constantly looking at drafts, constantly looking at ADP, using that stack finder on Fantasy Mojo. But I think if you're only going to do 3 drafts or 6 drafts, just go get your guys and just, there's so much that changes. Injuries, waivers, you might pick up a guy that no one else picks up that's, that has the same team as you. So,
one thing I'll say too is not to cut you off there, but
no, it's good.
It might, if you are, a mass or a volume player or something, you might want to take a little variety at 1. You go CMC at 1, right? When you come back at 2, 3, maybe you take McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb because they're always going end of 3, right?
Yep.
So you're not going to see a lot of combos with CMC and Terry and CeeDee Lamb. Very few actually, right? Because their ADPs are like stuck in mud right now. I don't think I've done a ton of these already. I haven't seen them go once at the turn. So, and they could be top 5 receivers, right? I mean, so just kind of, you're not taking something, off the wall pick there.
Right.
But you're gonna make it a little more, unique in that respect.
Yeah, your first pick will be the same, and your bottom picks might be a lot alike because you have your favorites when you get late in the draft, but the, B, C level, the upper middle to middle is where you can really vary it. That makes sense. I just don't want to. I guess this is a good problem. If I have a really successful team and then I take a minute to look it up in the middle of the season, and I find, 1,700 other people did the same thing. That's good. I guess where's the best place to have variance? If there is a best place, would you want to have someone at the top or maybe at the bottom? And how many guys in the bottom are really making a big impact?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's taking the same guys, rounds 1 through 4, even up through 6. It's those middle rounds where you might want to jump ADP a couple of rounds. You might want to switch it up, and those are the picks that you really got to hit, I think, to make that noise come championship rounds late in the season, right? You want to hit that rookie running back in round 11 or 12 that blows up, and maybe is a flex piece for you, not your main running back, of course, but whoever, you got to hit on those middle round targets. Everyone's going to have a great top 4 or 5 rounds. But yeah, it's who, hits in those middle and late rounds. Really, that's kind of what separates teams, I think.
So you really do have to play for the tournament, though, right? Any tournament format, if you're not playing for that, you're just limiting your potential. Because actually, as the money gets bigger in these leagues that I'm starting to play in, the idea of just winning that league seems really great. Like if I didn't have any potential in a tournament, okay, well, I will take that. But still, that's just not going to work. You have to shoot. You have to shoot big to make it worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody about this actually, where he had the one pick, right? You have CMC. He's got a bye in week 13, and I was telling him I wouldn't be opposed to taking, Devonta if you lasted to the corner there, and then who's the other? I can't think of. Or AJ Brown. All 3 have week 13 buys, but I wanted. I play a lot of leagues, so I'm willing to sacrifice. And I don't even think that's sacrifice because I think I'll still win somehow. People think, oh, I can't take a week 13 bye. Oh, God, it's the playoffs. You could find a way to do it just because you don't have one of your top few picks. Now, top 3 picks, I mean, I'm pretty much conceding the playoffs, I think, in that point. But if you have one guy, even 2, I don't think it's a death knell by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I see a lot of guys that are concerned. They look too much at the bye weeks. You got to play for the big championship here. So much of the money is going to that ultimate prize. You shouldn't be that concerned with bye weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then not only that, it's like if you're a top 2 team in the league, you're going anyways to the playoff,
right.
to the big money playoffs.
That's what I say. I'm playing for the 2 seed in
Right.
every tournament. That's what I'm doing. So
Yep.
yeah,
exactly. So it doesn't even matter. And again, because the payout for the league for the football guys isn't even that much. It basically pays first and second. I think it's $1,500 to first, $500 to second. So that isn't really what you're playing for. You're playing for to get into the big dance and play for that for the $500,000. So yeah, I would if you could pull off that type stack, if AJ Brown's slipping and that type stuff. So and a lot's going to change too. Once August hits and camp hits and injuries happen and news happens. I mean, I can guarantee you I haven't drafted in the last probably in a week, but that Michael Carter I've been talking about, I guarantee you his stock is going to go up around in the next week or so, so just news and injuries is going to change ADP around drastically.
But
right. You want it.
Yeah, sorry, real quick. I had a buddy who used to play in this, and he was set up as I think it was the 1 seed or something, but he purposely lost the last week of the playoff or the regular season because he wanted to face the guy that was going to be in the 2 seed to advance because he thought he had a better chance against that team. I'm sorry. He was whatever he was. He dropped down a seed so he could play a different team in the playoffs because he thought he had a better chance to beat them to get into the. Sorry, it was he dropped from 3 to 4, I think it was. Okay. He had a better chance to beat the 1 seed, and he ended up winning the league after that. But it's just to whatever gets you in the dance essentially.
That's right. It's what it's all about. Yeah, he gave up money early to try to make money late, make more money late. Yeah, for sure.
It's a great story if it pays off.
Yeah.
Right, but you got to take some risks here. Well, I feel like this has gone well. Is it safe to bring up Adalberto Mondesi around you, or should we not do that?
I mean, honestly, I hate to say it helps me because I'm a big, I play fantasy baseball as well. I have a lot of teams there. So I only have 1 share of him. So this happening to him, it was actually one of my better teams, but I mean, it helps more than it hurts, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't want to see that happen. And, he's one of my favorite players fantasy wise. So it sucks to see that.
No, you take a guy that, as you tweeted about today, with so much invested in him and just cannot stay on the field, then he comes back and everybody's just going to push him in. But I don't know. It's here we go again with him. So
it's awful. And
injuries are a big part of it.
The one league I have him in is a big team, and yeah, I'm fading in steals big time. So yeah, that's probably a season ender.
What's your more what's your favorite or what are you more successful at? Because I know you play a lot of high stakes fantasy baseball too, and high stakes football. Like, what do you like one better than the other? Are you better at one, or is it all pretty much the same? I'm
probably equal in both. I I put a lot of effort into both sports. Like last year, I was second overall in the NFBC. I took that in the online championship.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that was a nice score. But yeah, I like them both. I think too the challenge also with baseball and football, as baseball is running into September, into September, and football. That's why I can only do so many teams. I have all my waiver wires and baseball still going on for a month. So
right.
I got to balance it. It's not easy to, especially at the season.
No.
Well, they say that's an edge, isn't it, for those who can stay focused and keep grinding at baseball, because people who are playing both have a tough time keeping up.
Yeah, like football to me is like vacation mode compared to baseball. I mean, it's a grind. 6 months daily. Like you got to be on top of the news, everything. Football, you got 1 game per week, 2 games maybe. It's that, plus it can sometimes be like all day on a given day, because games are today 5 o'clock, not too bad, but staggered throughout the day. And those midweek games where getaway day and that, where somebody's being activated from the bullpen, and you're just scrambling all the time. It really does feel like it's all the time. Plus, it's pretty much a puzzle of baseball, right? So you got to balance it. It's 10 categories, so you're constantly analyzing your team, seeing where you're weak, where you're strong, and you constantly got to play the waiver wire, increase your chances here and there. Football, just give me points. It's points. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate you being here for that conversation, because if I had done that baseball without you here, Adam would have just cut me off, and we would.
Like, did he say? I thought I heard him say Raul Mondesi. That's what I heard.
It's his son. Is it his son? Isn't it? Maybe.
Yeah.
So you were right there, Adam. All right, the Guilds. We'll see you online. Will we see you in Vegas?
It's still up in the air. It's possible I'll be out there though.
Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, I got to make my way out there and stuff. People don't think like I'm ever seen. Like people want to see my face. Well, you can see my face now on here. So
that's right.
I got the shiny, like the cue ball too, with the lights. I'm like sweating under the lights here.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm sure I'm going to see you both in leagues moving forward. So good luck to you guys.
Thank you. Very nice to know you, and good luck this year.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, the Guilds.
Thanks,
everybody.
Guilds.
Just Guilds on Twitter. No the. Sort of like Foo Fighters. Is there a the or not? But great to have him on.
Yeah, he's excellent. He's one of the guys I'm always following and trying to learn from, because he does a ton of drafts. He's been super successful in baseball and successful in football, and so it's been he's a guy you definitely want to follow. He's always giving out, he doesn't pull any punches when he's talking about teams, and he'll always give you his honest opinion. So he's a great guy to kind of bounce stuff off of too. So.
Well, it's where it gets intimidating for me, is thinking about how much I need to know from what's going on outside of my own leagues, and that's what tournament life really is, though. So, I'm excited about it, but there's so much to take in, and eventually you got to figure out what to choose, what to make time for and what not, what's the noise and what really matters. So that continues to be a work in progress, to use a cliche. All right, let's talk about one team. At least it's on my mind, and then talk about guys who might be turning into our favorites as we go through the offseason at the end of drafts. Maybe there are guys that we're finding that we like, but people don't, which can be good as long as you're right. But before we do that, Indianapolis. So, Adam, you know a lot. Who led the Colts last year in targets?
Oh. Was it Nyheim Hines?
He was second.
Oh God.
If you're going to say Zach Pascal next, he was third.
Oh, I was not going to say
third.
Zach Pascal. God, I don't know who was it.
T.Y. Hilton.
Hilton. I couldn't think it was Hilton. No.
Right? Like, because what's the deal with T.Y. Hilton? Is he done?
Right.
Just tough to play last year. It was good against Houston, but too often you just didn't really have a use for him. He was first on the Colts in targets. He is still there. So is Hines, and I suppose so is Pascal. Then you have Michael Pittman, who was a top draft pick of theirs the year before. Trey Burton, who was off the team. Jonathan Taylor and Mo Alley Cox, Jack Doyle, eventually down to Paris Campbell, who had 9 targets in his 2 games last year, but he has a chance to be relevant this year. What are you doing with Indianapolis? Carson Wentz, good running backs. Even Marlon Mack is back there. The Pittman draft capital. Campbell as well if you need him. Hilton's still there. Tight end. Kyler Granson is a new name there. It feels like a team where there should be value at tight end, given the quarterback's history, the coach's history. But this team is a riddle.
Yeah, it's a riddle. I've honestly I don't think I've drafted a single piece of the receiving game yet this so far. Maybe I've got, something in like a $35, but I got to be honest, every time I see Michael Pittman, I'm trying to see where he goes in these drafts. But every time I see him, so he goes in the ninth, in the middle of the 9th round. Every time I see him, I cue him up. I feel like, and he intrigues me. They spent, I think, a 2nd round pick on him last year. And he was a guy that I kind of liked going into. I thought he was kind of undervalued, and and maybe just not having that off season with Rivers and being able to kind of build that way as a rookie. I think that might have hurt him last year. But he's 6'4". He's a huge target. He's smooth. He tested as I think an 86th percentile athlete at the combine. So he's athletic, he's tall, he's big. I think he's one of those receivers that can kind of come out of nowhere in the 9th, 10th, 11th round and can make that jump. Then it's not like a sexy name, it's not a sexy pick, but he's the only guy that I'm really looking at in the passing game as far as pass catchers. I mean, I'll take Nyheim Hines. I do have some of him, but I don't consider him like a receiver, obviously there. But I've taken him if I'm going 0 RB. I'll take him later on just to kind of get a nice floor there at the running back position because he's gonna catch the ball a bunch. But Pittman's the receiver that I'm targeting. If I would like to get some shares of him before some good news comes out about him. I know you're kind of a T.Y. Hilton guy. I know you were last year, but Pittman's the guy. And you're laughing probably because you only talked about him one time, but
maybe. Yeah. I don't know that I'm a T.Y. Hilton guy. I mean, I've liked the player, but last year he was tough. Still, like, who among these guys is sort of overhyped? Nobody. Unless maybe Pittman. Like he has a chance. At least he has a chance of that, which is only to say that there's interest in him. But the tight ends, I mean, like Doyle. I asked a friend today, like, why isn't Jack Doyle getting drafted at all in some of these? And my friend said, it's his name. And I said, what do you mean, like, it's his name? You mean that, like, what he's meant as a fantasy player in other years? He's like, no, just his name is a deal breaker or something. Like, I'm still a little confused. He has been decent or even good at times in his career for fantasy, and Burton is gone. So, in that playoff game, all the tight ends were used and were relevant in that game. Now, different quarterback, but
yes,
somewhere in there is some good value because they'll throw enough. I know Jonathan Taylor and their running game reputation, but they didn't acquire Carson Wentz to just hand the ball off in the same way that the Titans didn't trade for Julio Jones to just be a decoy. You want to assume some level of commitment to those players, and that includes Wentz. Throwing the ball for 4,000 yards or some number for Indianapolis. So who gets those points? I like Campbell, and I guess part of that inherent to this whole point is that he is very affordable. And Pittman, there's a little bit of a price to pay for him, and Hilton on name. I think Hilton could be good, but with his age, Campbell, a 2nd round pick himself, lost a year to injury. I think he's really interesting. And he ends up fitting into the next category as somebody that I like, in these drafts and can almost always find my way to him because there's just this confusion about Indianapolis and these other options that people seem to like more.
Yeah, I think you're obviously they didn't bring Wentz to hand off the ball. They're going to have an elite offensive line, something Wentz has had in years, maybe since his last good year. So I could see somebody there. Once they got a big arm, someone there is going to do something. Obviously, we just don't know really who it is. Now it's a nice little late best ball stack option. You can get them all But I do think they're going to run the ball a bunch. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of passing volume there. But to me, it's Pittman. I think he's got the high ceiling. Campbell, yeah, Paris Campbell's. I can't even find him on this list here, but
exactly
as far as where he goes. But yeah, no, he's a guy. Again, he could pop too. Former second round pick. It's right, and I think the problem with Jack Doyle, like your friend said, he sounds like a 1940s boxer, like an Irish boxer or something. If his name was Quintez Cephas, he'd be going in the 13th round of all these drafts.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think that's it for sure.
About time we do a 1940s boxer draft on one of these shows
on WGR. Do it.
Maybe it's probably due to happen. So when I suggest we talk about whatever it is, however you put it, late round targets, players that you're drafting enough where you're noticing pretty frequently, I like this player and seemingly nobody else does. It's almost surprising when he gets chosen at all. Does anybody come to mind for you? Like who might be that player for you?
Yeah, I've got a couple, and I don't think it's that deep as whether he gets chosen at all. So I kind of went like, for me in my mind, it was like the 15th round and later in these drafts, because and to me the number one guy is Traquan Smith. He's going late. He's going 15th, 16th round in these at least in the football guys, 15th round here. And I just think that his opportunity is very, very, very good, right? He might be the number 2 target there. He hasn't had the best career up to now, but he's shown flashes. He's in a contract year, and people are like, the people who are down on Michael Thomas should probably be high, which I'm kind of one of them, should be higher on Traquan Smith. Jameis Winston, his strength isn't the short passing game. His strength isn't these slant routes, these little timing nuanced routes with Michael Thomas that Drew Brees was so successful at. His strength is dropping back, 5-7 step drop, and using his big arm to sling it down the field. And that's Traquan Smith. Traquan Smith has shown the ability to do that. He has been banged up. But I think he's the favorite to be the number 2 guy there. He's 27 years old. This could be a breakout year for him. Obviously Alvin Kamara will get more targets, but if we're talking about ADOT, we're talking about big plays. Winston's going to be looking down the field. That's just naturally how he is. And Traquan Smith's been going in the 15th round, and he's a guy that every time I just plan on taking him in like every draft. I think he's one of my highest owned players right now, but he's one of the guys that I'm taking.
Well, I think that's a smart idea, and all these guys we might talk about in this category are not too pricey. I got a guy in mind that's just way less expensive than Traquan Smith.
Okay.
And that would be Tyron Johnson of the Chargers.
Okay.
So they're interesting, like a lot of teams are, I guess, but the quarterback can throw it and that they want to. There is new coaching there too, but I would expect plenty of passing volume from LA. Keenan Allen, very good. Mike Williams, very good. Not as good as Keenan Allen, but you wonder about injuries, maybe durability if you need it. And their draft pick, Josh Palmer, I don't think was the player, was enough of a college player for me to think that he really rates, even to the extent that Eskridge might with Seattle. I just sort of don't know. So you've got Johnson and Guyton, 2 guys that flashed a little bit for the Chargers last year, but just not a lot of opportunity. And I wonder if as they sort of shape their offense this year, maybe, to throw the ball a lot. You have Eckler, of course, which is also part of their passing game. I think there might be a chance that one of those other guys, Johnson or Guyton, has a significant, not majorly, but something of value in best ball. If you can get, what would the numbers be? You're talking about like the 20th round or later. Yes. So some sort of production there. Anything you get is kind of a win. And I think those are both interesting players on a compelling team.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Guyton because that's the guy that I've been taking in that area, right? So you've got Johnson, I've got Guyton, and that's one of those situations where I might have to start pivoting off of Guyton to Johnson, just because that's a guy that in the same range. Like, you don't know, one of those guys is going to be something, right? You brought up Josh Palmer. He could be a guy too, but like I don't love him either, but I think one of those guys, it's the right idea. One of those guys I think is going to do something, is going to pop. Mike Williams, who I love, who I'm taking a ton of, but he's always hurt. And even me, even when I take him, I'm not counting on it for 17 games. I'm counting on it for like 12 games of high points per game total. So if you take a guy like Mike Williams, take one of these other Charger receivers, take one or two of them. Especially in a best ball, you got 28 rounds to take them. So I think it's the right idea for sure. And yeah, that's something that can definitely be done. Another guy I've been looking at, and again, it's kind of in that late, and we talked about him before. Is Matt Breida, right? So we've talked about him. I talked about him on your show. He's a late round flyer type that. The Bills don't run the ball a ton, but they brought in Breida to be that speed back, maybe that third down back that can pop. Singletary hasn't been super healthy in his 2 years in Buffalo. Moss was banged up last year. They didn't add anything else of note at the running back position. So maybe Breida carves out his own little role, and maybe if there's an injury or something, he gets an opportunity and he shows out. So that's a guy I've been taking, especially when I do take Moss in the 9th or 10th round. I'm definitely taking Breida a little later on because I think, again, he could pop. The Bills, I think they're not going to run the ball more, which is great, but they're looking to be more efficient and maybe do a couple. If they're going to throw a screen pass, I think it's going to be to Matt Breida. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. For a running back, I'll give you Darrell Williams of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon being there is a little bit interesting. I'm somebody who's fallen for that idea before with San Francisco, even with Minnesota. But the injuries have piled up. They're giving him a look. He is interesting if he's healthy and on the field. Edwards-Helaire, a lot of the draft capital point, and I think he seems like a popular sort of bounce back idea this year. Whether that is his lack of touchdowns last year driving that, or just what you got to love. Everybody loves the offense, but Williams has been pretty reliable, and he's been there through Le'Veon Bell, even maybe LaShawn McCoy the year before that, and he's somebody that they trust. So maybe depending a little bit on what happens with McKinnon, I think Williams is somebody that you probably will get some sort of numbers from in a best ball draft that you're picking. When, like in the last few rounds. So I like the idea of that player as it gets late. You might be looking for, or everybody else could be looking for the handcuff, Devontae Booker, perhaps with the Giants or someone like that. But I think Williams is sort of a player that can give you production here and there throughout the year.
Yeah, 100%. That word you said, that trust factor is such a big deal when it comes to these running backs and getting playing time. Is Frank Gore's been around 100 years because the coaches trust him. He's probably another coach in these meeting rooms, right? So yeah, having that trust factor, Williams for sure. He knows that system there, and kind of a guy like a late round handcuff you were talking about. A guy that I like is Brian Hill. He's another one going late. Sometimes he's not even getting drafted because people don't think he's the handcuff to Derrick Henry. And I've just been hearing a lot of podcasts and doing a lot of research, and Brian Hill seems to be the guy that best fits the mold as that downhill runner. If Henry were to go down, Evans is kind of a receiving back there. I'm trying to think who else is there.
I don't know, but that sounds right. Like Hill might be more if Henry were to miss a game, I'm not sure that's ever happened, but if he were to miss a game, first down, who's on the field on first down? Evans is a guy with some potential, but would they use him in a 3-down role? Maybe not.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jeremy McNichols is that other back there, but he's been there. He's a scat back. He's done nothing. Brian Hill has had some flashes, and yeah, Derrick Henry's never been hurt, but he's a guy this year, if he gets banged up, we're going to look back and be like, oh, of course he's banged up. He had 350, 400 touches last year and 300 touches the year before. I mean, I know he's a freak. He's huge. But if he does get banged up, word in the street is that Brian Hill would be that guy. So take him with your last pick, especially maybe if you own Derrick Henry, or if you don't own him, take him. But if you're looking to handcuff or grab the backup to Derrick Henry, I think it's Brian Hill. So that's another kind of deep sleeper.
So are you taking, as we wrap here, Adam, any time off between now and training camp or Vegas, or do you still keep drafting all the time?
Yeah, no, I'm taking time off from the football guys. I haven't done one in, I know, time off. I haven't done one in a week. I'm probably going to wait till, if I can, I'm going to wait till the end of July to not do another football guys. Cause like the guild said, the ADP stale. I'm already 10 deep. I don't want to, I'm only going to do so many. And I don't want to shoot on my bullets now. So I'll probably do, I got a couple $35 slow draft sitting in my account. I'll probably use those. And, but I'm going to use this time to kind of just prep, do a little more research into strength of schedule, do a little more research into the offensive lines and stuff like that, and really get my tiers cleaned up and kind of tightened up so that when I go into drafts at the end of July, because August is going to be insane, right? We got the Draft Sharks Invitational, which we'll be announcing very soon. We got the Pros versus Joes, Mike, that you and I are going to be doing together. We've got the Scott Fish Bowl coming up here in July. And then the main events start in July and they go all the way through. So I got to tighten my tiers up, get my views kind of more sculpted in on certain players and certain positions and stuff. So I'll probably take it easy on some of these mid-level to high-level stake drafts here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I got to get your rest.
Got to get my rest.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next week. Thanks to the guilds for coming on. Follow him on Twitter or this podcast or this show, Deep End FF1. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Oh, I feel like I should have that memorized by now. Well, I was right. Deep End FF1. For Adam Krautwurst, I'm Mike Shope. See you next week.
See you guys.